Now, the 52.5 millimeter diameter crank, which is right here, if you look at my calipers right here, you'll notice it is 31 millimeters, I think. I'm not really good with metric. Anyway, that's the difference between the width of the crank weights, which are right here. Now, it's so much wider that you have to have thin bearings, and also along with the thin bearings that are thinner, you have to cut some areas on the basis of the case. Now, this shows right here with the calipers that with the standard 50 millimeter cut for the 450 millimeter crank in diameter, the case is 80 millimeters, I think. Now, your stock crank, this is your stock 50 millimeter crank. It is only 34, you can see right there, 34 millimeters wide with the stock bearings. Now, when I say they're thinner bearings, that this is so much wider right here, this area right here, wider, that these bearings have got to be thinner by a couple of millimeters. So all the meat on this side of the case here and over here has got to be cut out, which is a pain in the ass. If you don't have a what are they, a lathe, or if you're not an engineer. Now, what I did in starting out here, the pistons are, I don't know why I put them in there, I just did. Anyway, this shows blow by right here. This shows where the fire is going beneath the ring. That you don't have a good ring seal. Here is a 54 millimeter where it's gotten too hot and it's actually seized against the cylinder. But what I did when I ordered this is, like I said in my previous videos, I used guide bearings. I had two beautiful bearings that I had to sacrifice. I took a Dremel and smoothed them out around the outside and on the inside race on two of these, and the other two I used for the stock bearings. Now, this is what I'm talking about with the bottom of the case. Now this part of the engine, and this is the engine I have in the bike right now that runs, this has been milled out right here for a 50 millimeter crank. And if you look very carefully right on this edge right here, you can see where the stock meat was and then how much I've taken off. You can see it there, and you can also see it over here. You can see how much is taken off, and you can see it right here. You only have to take off a very little, but we have to understand that with this is 50 millimeters, okay, and look how close we're getting to the holes. See how close we're getting here and here. Actually, I've cut through right there, and this one's not too bad, and that one is not too bad. But when you start talking about 52 millimeter you're going to start cutting into holes. And in order to, that's not a big problem, but the problem is case integrity. The case has got to be airtight. Now let's look again here. This stock 50mm crank, this is a stock stroker crank, is 34mm wide. Now, if you look at the 52mm crank, you'll see it is 36 inches wide, or millimeters. I'm sorry, it's kind of early. Inches, what the hell am I talking about? Damn, that'd be a big crank. So that's why you've got to take off the meat on the case to make it work. And here we have some of the work that I'm doing. I used a large washer with, I believe it's an inch diameter hole. And you can buy this at any, like a tractor factory or any auto, not auto parts, but industrial place that sells them. And I used this hole right here as a guide for the router that I bought from VT. And I don't know if VT has them anymore, but this is the, and I have more pictures of it, but this is the router right here that I bought, and it's adjustable. It worked really good for taking off the bottom base of the case. Now remember, you don't have to do this with a 50mm crank in diameter. You have to do it for 52.5. Now I have to take the base off here, and I also have to go another couple of millimeters out here, here, and here. Okay, and when I do that, I'm going to cut into these holes. And the holes, after I cut into them, cannot be used to hold the bolts because they got holes in them. So it just won't work. And here's the washer again, and here's one of the dummy bearings that I used. Now this is a perfectly good bearing that I've used a Dremel and taken off a couple of hundredths off the outside and a couple of hundredths off the inside, so that I use it for a guide because I don't have a engineering shop or whatever. But this part goes right in the hole right there, and use the drill right here, and it goes around and around, and it takes off aluminum very slowly. Now, as I was doing this, I remember some advice Dave Toba gave me, and I always remember this advice from him. He said, be very careful what you cut, Randy, because aluminum don't grow back. And I've taken that advice to heart in all the work I do on these, and I just want to thank him for that. Alright, we're going to get on to the next phase.